Hello, everyone. Welcome to the People Strategy Forum. We have a special guest today, so I wanted to kind of kick off things here. So when we think about HR processes, let's be honest, HR isn't just about policies and paperwork anymore. It's about driving businesses forward. And today's guest, she's built a career doing just that. So I'm excited to really bring her into place and see all this great learning that we can get from her. So joining us is Rhiannon Albert, and she's a seasoned executive coach and a fractional CHRO. So she can help you if you're a leader listening in. She can step in if you have a gap in your HR team or to help up your team. So really powerful person to do that. She has over 2 decades of hands-on HR experience across industries like healthcare, manufacturing, construction, and more. So she is the powerhouse behind My Trusted HR. It's a consultancy helping companies develop strong people strategies that actually move the needle. So she has a certification from SHRM and HRCI and a track record of helping influencing business curriculum at the University of Idaho and so forth. Rhiannon blends strategy, coaching, and compliance all into a single powerful package. So in today's discussion, she's bringing a strategic lens to one of the biggest challenges organizations face, future-proofing their HR teams, so that they can better attract, retain, and inspire top talent in a rapidly changing world. And we know that the world's been changing a lot. So let's welcome Rhiannon Albert to the People Strategy Forum. Welcome, Rhiannon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And so let's just start by rewinding the clock a bit. What was the first thing that drew you into the world of HR, and when did you know that this was your calling?
I naively kind of went towards HR just because I wanted to work in corporate. I knew that from an early age, and wanted to help people. So, it's kind of nursing for organizations, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, all these years later, 23 years later, I realized that I am helping people, but not in, the ways that I thought I was going to.
Mm-hmm. So how have you found that this is different than your first path in helping people?
I still feel like I am. I'm just helping. I feel like I help executives
Mm-hmm.
probably the most, and that's not what I thought that I would be helping. I think I help executives, and by way of that, it trickles down to everyone else.
Right. And so I know you've worked in a lot of different industries. I mean, do you have a favorite one that you've worked in that you enjoy the most?
I really love engineers.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because I'm the yin to their yang. I'm pretty extroverted, so I love getting to pick their brains, and maybe they're struggling with leading people, or whatever it could be, and being able to kind of combine the skill sets, combine what we're both good at, to come up with a really good, solid plan for how to problem solve and move things forward.
Yes, and problem solving in today's world is super important. I mean, with things changing so fast in the marketplace, and so that is our topic today is really to help HR teams and leaders stay ahead of the game. And so, what are the things that you currently are hearing and in the marketplace from your leaders and so forth? What are the main things that are there on their mind about the volatility of the industry and just employee culture and the change that we're seeing?
There's a lot of things on their mind.
Hmm.
And, if you go back to just the fundamentals of, leading with strategy,
Mhm.
And if your organizations aren't, then what do we need to do to fix that? And then also just, you know, being as proactive as you possibly can, because that proactivity and thinking about the bigger picture with all of the things going on in our world today, you have to be nimble and you have to continue to be nimble, right? Because
Right.
I think COVID was the biggest shakeup that we recall recently, where we had to be nimble. But
Mhm.
it's not letting up. I mean, just because the COVID thing has kind of affected us and it's going to continue to be around and affect us, um, there's other factors. There's always going to be other factors affecting your business. So, always thinking 10 steps ahead of what can we do to mitigate and make sure that we're staying on track with, moving things forward no matter what comes at us. We've got another plan. We've got another idea. We can twist and move. We can pivot. We can um, think creatively. Our teams are ready. You know,
Right.
that's what we need to be doing.
So let's revisit. You mentioned COVID, so let's revisit some of the change over the past 5 years. I mean, as you said, I mean, the COVID was a big shock to the marketplace. People were forced to work at home, and managers had to change their how they manage their organization. It impacted a lot of companies. Some shut down, some adapted and changed. Then, as things started getting back to the what we called at that time the new normal, uh, people were still working at remotely for a large part, and that became a strategic advantage for some, and then others suffered as they were not seeing traction in productivity. So
Mhm.
there was the increased productivity for those working remotely, and then there was other companies that found that they didn't have that productivity, which of course caused this trend that we've had in the past 2 years about returning to the office. So those that have been less successful in having that productivity gain, we're pulling people back into the office to kind of resume some of the previous practices of management style and so forth. And then now, of course, in the United States, there's a new leader this year in which there are other environments that are happening, such as an impact on tariffs and there's been minimum wage increases from the past few years that have caused compression in organizations. So a lot of change. So what are the top items here that you see that your leaders are mostly talking about, and how are they preparing for the future going forward now?
A lot of the leaders that I am working with are navigating all of the things you just listed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're navigating them as we speak in unison, like all of it piled on top of one another. So there is never probably going to be an easy answer with leading organizations, running businesses, and leading people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
None of these things are easy to do. So just laying that understanding and groundwork. Um, but I think that more than ever, like I said, it's them being knowing that they have to be nimble,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that we don't know anything for sure, and so except for fundamental things like people are our best asset, and being true to the people that are on our teams and ensuring that they're engaged, ensuring that they have everything they need to be successful. Those are going to be those fundamental things that we do know. We need to take good care of our team so that they take good care of our customers, and that we stay true to them so that they stay true to our organization and our mission and our initiatives. But those fundamental things like pay equity and
Hmm.
um, letting our teams be heard and seen and appreciated, leading with empathy, all of the things that we fundamentally know to be true. Those are the things that we have to remain focused on. And then, bigger than that, the strategy, the overarching people strategy, where we're going, what we're trying to accomplish, what the bandwidth of the organization itself, the global footprint, if that's a thing. Um, you know, what are the needs in the world of business, and what are those costs? What are the infrastructures that we need to build? All of those things put together. Um, and then just again staying nimble because we don't know what tomorrow even holds. So
Right. Well, let's kind of jump through the total the talent equation. So when we're thinking about um, first making sure that we're more ready for change and bringing the right people into the organization. So, when you think about building strong HR teams and that are resilient and that are more adept to change, what approach should we be taking, or leaders be thinking about when bringing new members into the team?
well, what I would say first and foremost is ensuring that you as a leadership team, or you as the specific leader bringing someone new in,
Mm-hmm.
ensure that you are um, modeling all of the behaviors that you expect out of a new team member.
Yeah.
So going back to that idea that it starts with you. Um, you know, I probably already told you, but I'm going to tell you again. My favorite quote, it's behind me, but I don't know if you can see it. What you permit, you promote. What you allow, you encourage. And what you condone, you own.
Mm-hmm.
So being that type of person, being that type of leader, making sure that the executive team of that organization is, in fact, leading the way that you expect your team members to perform. So you have to model the behavior. You have to be that team that, actually listens to your team's contributions, listens to their ideas, takes some time to connect with them, is very communicative and clear about your own initiatives and where we're going, and addresses their concerns first, because like all those fundamental things have to be addressed before we can expect a team to step up for us and work tons of hours and deliver on something. They need to fully understand why we're doing it, why it's important, and it starts with that leadership team.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's not what they want to hear.
Yeah.
That's hard sometimes. That's the hard stuff, is to make sure that all those members are performing in a way that we're all proud of, and that they're delivering on their own expectations at their levels. But that's the best way to introduce new people into the organization, because the minute they come in, I mean, even during the interviews, they're watching and listening to see what leadership is doing and how they talk about problems and how they talk about their team members and how they treat them. They're watching all the time. And so you can't really send a message of we're doing this, this, and this if you're not playing the part. So there's my unpopular response.
Totally makes sense. And I know, Samantha, we're talking here about culture and good communication, and I know that this is a piece that's near and dear to your heart. And so, does what Rhiannon is talking about, does that resonate with you?
Oh, it absolutely does. I love the quote that Rhiannon mentioned, and in fact, that's what I've been trying to help some of my clients with, saying um, you can design all the processes, all the policies in the world that you want to. You can write fancy words on the walls, but there's a saying that um, what's in the halls is more important than what's on the walls. So it kind of aligns exactly with what Rhiannon was saying.
Mhm.
So, Rhiannon, is as far as we're talking about attracting the right talent to ensure that we have a future proof organization, and so and this is something that when we think about HR branding or how we brand ourselves as an employer to attract that right talent, is there things that leaders should be doing with their branding on the website, or what they're saying externally, and how can they promote their company to best attract that right talent for that resilience?
Um, I would say don't promote anything that you're not willing to back up, you
Yeah.
know? Don't promote that you believe in diversity if half of the executive team really doesn't.
Hmm.
Or, don't tout anything that you don't live on a daily basis. It's kind of, vision, mission statements, things like that. Very much to your point. Um, it doesn't do any good if the people aren't seeing it and feeling it.
Yeah.
If your internal teams know that those factors aren't considered when they're making their daily decisions on the work they're doing and how they're serving their clients or customers, you know, it doesn't, it's not going to drive any kind of benefit.
Hmm.
So I would say be really true to really who you guys are as an organization. What makes you special? What makes you stand out? What helps you drive great progress? Talk about those things. What makes you different?
Yeah.
But don't promise anything or promote anything or even worry about marketing until you're really solid with who you are as an organization, how you drive progress, uh, and what makes you unique.
Yeah, for sure. I think that one of the things is making sure you, of course, as you mentioned, you have it down. You have that clear messaging, what you want to say to attract talent. But then the next thing is I think that some of what some clients are doing are have they're having kind of like a day in the life of on some teams. If they're really trying to attract people that are going to be cohesive in that team, some team members will express it's like, okay, this is what it's like to do my job on or to be a part of this team and this company, and they other candidates can see what it's like to work there and what it's like to be part of that team, and I think that can attract some of that great talent that we're looking for. Have you seen other strategies like that work in finding the right team members for a company?
I have. And I always think that it's cool when they have the programs where they actually pay them to shadow or pay them to contribute to the team and get to pretend they're on the team. That always feels better to me from a legal state compensation standpoint. But because maybe they're going to contribute some ideas that are going to be good ones and you'll run with them. Who knows? But um, I think any of that is great. I think really uh, integrative, innovative interview strategies. There's a lot of different ones now. Anything that kind of helps build on their natural skill sets. There's a lot of, Predictive Index does one where they assess their actual skills and qualifications and measure those against the job requirements to assess fit, because at the end of the day, if they're not a good, solid fit for that role, they're not going to be successful and they're not going to enjoy it. That's bad for the employee, the new employee, and the company. So anything and everything that we can do to get creative, use tech, and ensure that there's going to be a good fit, but just make sure that you are doing it legally, and there's only some that you can use in a hiring capacity.
Yeah, I think it's a great call out as far as those new tools that are coming out that use artificial intelligence and so forth. I mean, companies need to be aware of how that technology is being used in that environment. But to your point, those assessments, whether it's a PMI or predictive index, culture index, TMA, all of those are great tools that help identify skill sets before a company brings them in to really find the best candidate out of all of the masses that apply for a job. But one thing that you mentioned that I really liked, I mean, as I am a global compensation expert, so I really enjoy programs that bring out a person's best work and those best behaviors. And if we're trying to have a person do some cross training or be in teams or different types of think tanks, providing that compensation to recognize their efforts or their extra efforts in those abilities is a great way to get people engaged, find ways to motivate them to take on more duties and be more impactful in the organization. So I love that as well. But I want to bring up another topic here. When we're talking about attracting and creating that HR branding to future-proof the organization. A lot of candidates out there are thinking about, it's like, well, I can work at this larger company and that has, these, it has name recognition and a broad set of benefits and sometimes richer compensation. So how can smaller companies compete with that? What have you witnessed that they're doing to be able to attract talent and compete with those larger organizations?
Well, just by being smaller, you've got a competitive advantage in some regards, because, and I've gone through this in my 23 years of HR. I would battle myself. I would be a generalist, a jack of all trades, if you will. And then I would get frustrated that I wasn't really good at any one thing. So then I'd go back to a smaller organization where I got to wear more hats and I got to own more. And there's a lot of advantage to that for smaller organizations because you don't have 27 people on the HR team, for example. So I say just embrace what you do have.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace the industry that you work in. Think bigger too. Are there other industries you can serve? Are there other things you guys can be doing? But just embrace what you do have, because each candidate is going to come with their own story, their own history, and be craving something different. So, job descriptions that are tailored to, hey, are you looking to get to lead an entire organization and have a team of 6 people? Whatever. I mean, just embrace what you do have and promote it that way. Basically in each and every job posting, you're looking to connect and speak to and attract the people that have the skill sets that are going to make this position successful. So just ensure that you're doing that and don't fall into the trap of just using ChatGPT to write your job description and blah, 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 because it's got to have some flavor. Work with your marketing team, spice it up, look for those main skill sets. If you need to have qualifications and then you're nice to have, start up here. What if you could pick the perfect person for this role? Are they a forward thinker?
Mm-hmm.
Are they, what are those skill sets and experiences that they're going to bring to really make this position successful?
Yeah, I like what you're saying there as far as, really focus on what you have. I mean, and a lot of small organizations don't realize how good they have it in a lot of aspects. When employees work there, they have a stronger connection to the end user or the client, and making a difference at the organization. So there can be more rapid promotion. But Sumit, what do you think? Is there any things that you would add to that list as far as how a small company can compete with those larger competitors out there?
So that's an interesting problem that I mean, incidentally, a lot of my clients try to deal with, where people are trying to leave for bigger companies and more benefits and higher salaries, etc. The I mean, what I figured works in retaining them is one, the fact that you're participating in the direction setting of the organization. So you're working much closer to the leadership than you would be in a larger organization. So you've got more control over creating that purpose and also crafting that journey. So in a more dynamic, in a more unstructured kind of a startup environment, you can shape your career in a different direction. So you don't necessarily have to stick to a prescribed career path or a very clear job description. I think those are two of the strongest selling points. Of course, not everyone is ready for them, but they do work with some of the folks for sure.
One of the things I think that you mentioned, I mean, or is retention and leadership. So let's switch our conversation over to that. So now we've attracted the right people, and we're using that employer branding to get them in the door, setting up the culture, showing them the great opportunities that the organization has for them in the future. But retention often comes down to one big thing: leadership or their manager, and so that's often when one of the greatest reasons why people will leave an organization is because of that poor communication or that relationship with their manager. So, what are some of the common leadership missteps that you've seen, Rihanna, about that drive those great employees out the door?
I've seen a few. I would say one of the biggest ones is, I guess, not going to bat for your team members.
Yeah.
Whether it be on compensation, whether it be, spearheading an idea, or ensuring that the right people know about an issue. That one always baffles me a little bit, just because I wonder why there isn't more follow through.
Right.
But at the same time, I guess I understand that everybody needs their job, and so they don't maybe want to make waves, or I don't know. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we should see managers be more of an advocate or an ally for their people. Matter of fact, these are they're if a manager is accountable to the organization and a manager holds their people accountable, they need to have that strong relationship with their employees, and they should advocate for them to be promoted and to do better in their job. But Smith, I'd love to hear your thoughts before I kind of jump in on what I think is one of the big issues there with managers.
No, I'd love to hear your views as a compensation person first, Sam.
Yeah. So my thoughts is it's like when what I see is that managers they're often managers have to, especially in today's world, have to do a lot more with less. And so there's a heavy load on managers overall. And so and they're thinking about getting things done. And in that mindset, they have a scarcity mindset. They're not thinking about the future. They're thinking about right now. So when somebody comes up to them, one of their employees comes up to them and say, "Hey, I want to know what it takes to get to the next level of my career," and suddenly that manager, I believe that manager comes in my experience, they get this set of fear. How am I going to get today's work done without this individual? If I promote this individual in their career into the next level or to another part of the organization, I got to fill a hole. I got to do more training. I got to develop this person. It's this uncertainty piece that enters the area. So I think that's one of the drivers of why managers don't advocate for their people in some ways. Now, I think the main reason is just mindlessness. They're so focused on getting things done and not thinking strategically or the needs of others. They're too focused on the needs of themselves and perhaps the organization itself. So, but
I feel for them though, because like you said, managers, leaders today are juggling more now than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, and to that point, they're supposed to be thinking strategically. They're supposed to be moving things forward, but they are also constrained by look at the quarterly budgets, look at the fiscal requirements, look at the deadlines that they're under. And it's almost counterintuitive sometimes, because you're supposed to be doing all these things, but then you're also supposed to be following and falling within these limits as well. So
right.
I feel for them. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a lot of the work that I do, is partnering with them to help with all of these things and then some,
Mm-hmm.
and all their people. So it's hard. How do you even stay motivated yourself when you kind of feel like your back's against the wall? Now we've got tariffs. Now we've got other limitations. Now we've got but I'm supposed to still be driving success forward, and I'm supposed to be excited and exciting my team to keep them engaged and moving forward, right? Like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't take that lightly. I have a lot of respect for the role.
So Rhiannon, you mentioned that, to really help managers do more with less resources, whether it be time or individuals, or and what do you typically recommend for them? How can they do more with less?
Honestly, it's really just about prioritizing,
Mm-hmm.
because there's only so much you can do. But when you think bigger picture about, your role as a leader, not just telling people what to do, but leading people, what's the vibe of your team? Where are they at? And then in comparison with the executive team or the board or the stakeholders or the industry as a whole, whatever the dynamic is for that organization, and where's the mismatch?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we need to be going, and where are we currently, and then what do we need to change in order to deliver?
Right. I like that. And when we're really talking about future proofing the organizations, as a compensation expert, I often talk to teams or comp teams about how to adjust their service delivery model, or how we're delivering to our customers and clients, and looking into the future. And we have to consistently do this. This is not a one and done type of scenario. Each year, each quarter, perhaps, or each half a year, there should be an element in everyone's process about, is the current things that we're doing still important for the current environment?
Yep.
What do our stakeholders think? Are they getting value out of what we're delivering? Are they, and then what do we need to change? Are there ways that we can be more efficient with new systems or technologies or processes that are going to give a greater client experience in the end?
A lot of companies don't even think about client experience. Can I just say that really quick?
Yeah.
Because I was on a portal just this morning and I thought, have you guys even taken a look at how you funnel people through? You're making them enter data 4 different times, the same data. You have to think about that stuff. That's what's important. I mean, that's the whole reason that you are here, is to serve your customers, whoever they are, internally, externally. And if you're not always looking at it from that other lens to see what they see, you're really missing a big piece.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
So, in fact, I see that that happen a lot when you kind of think of yourself as somebody superior or higher than the other party. When you think of, so if you think of, let's say, a job seeker as somebody who wants or needs a job, and you're in a position of power, you're giving them the job. So you make them jump through different hoops. You say, upload your CV, and then you make them enter that precise information on 5 different pages. Um, if it were the IRS, of course, I'd be okay doing it because they are in a position of power as compared to where I would be. But in an organization, managers doing this to internal people, us doing it to clients or customers, or to job seekers, that's just plain unfair. And I think to the earlier point, it's also why managers are burdened and they've got more work because we are dealing with tight budgets. We're dealing with lots of financial uncertainty as well, but we don't have to micromanage every single thing. So I think managers are overcomplicating it by uh, building in redundancies and duplications in terms of tracking data, in terms of constantly looking over people's shoulders to see what's been done, what's not been done, and how people are doing it. So if you're hiring smart people, you got to trust them to do the right work, or else you might as well save that money and do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And if you're looking over everybody's shoulder, how strategic is your role?
Right.
It must not be, because you're paying good money for good quality people on your team. Let them do their thing. There is a element of fundamental respect that they deserve, as well as, leadership on your part. I mean, we all have a million ways to improve what we do. So I don't want to come down hard on anybody, but these are good points to reflect on, because there are ways for each of us to improve the way we're showing up every day. And
Absolutely.
trust, respect, and just from a budgetary standpoint, you hired them to do great things. How are they ever going to succeed and show you something great if you're always breathing down their neck, you know?
Absolutely. And there's a great children's book which captures this point, which is about that they find that bees are not being productive enough and they're not making enough honey. So they hire a person who is a bee watcher who has to constantly monitor the performance of the bees and see if they're producing enough or not. And then they hire a person to watch the bee watcher to see if the bee watcher is watching adequately or not. And then there's an entire chain of people who are watching and watching and watching and monitoring each other to see if the person or if the folks in charge of production are actually producing or not. So I think it kind of captures the point beautifully.
So that just brings it up. The important part of being a manager is not just watching or monitoring performance, but it's also working with that individual for development and to ensure that they're doing their best work. Because if it's just busy little bees, if it's just doing things because that's what we do every day and we're not evolving, there's bees they have one job their entire life, right? And that's not the way of humans. And so we continually evolve to our environment and want to advance in our careers. So I think that brings us full circle. Basically, how we started up the conversation about I was talking about the initiative of bringing back people back into the workplace instead of having them do their best work wherever they're at. And I think that really drives, instead of just looking at people and observing them and seeing if they're doing their busy little bee work, what we need to do is we need to look at those metrics that are truly driving performance. Are people really moving the needle, and are they future-proofing our organization by being more resilient and delivering their best work no matter where they're at? So I think that's critical.
True leaders are removing roadblocks,
right?
Not serving as them. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well said. I love that. And so, Rhiannon, as we're coming to the top of our time here, what are the key things that you would like leaders to think about as a result of this conversation?
Yeah, I think that the main reason that I branched out and even started my own business in the first place was because in my corporate career, 23 years in HR, I kept seeing that leaders were hungry for more. They're typically visionaries. They're thinking big picture about a lot of different things. And, HR always seems to be that thing that it's like a necessary evil. And, I love diving in and helping change the stereotype of it. Those of us that are great at what we do can be excellent partners and help you so that you don't have to go HR alone. And I think a lot of my clients really enjoy that piece just because I am in the fractional space and I am able to help them navigate some of the stuff that we talked about today without, having to fully immerse themselves in HR people operations. So I would just encourage them, if they feel like there's pieces of their work that they're not truly excelling at, hire the right help. It's just like if we broke our arm, we wouldn't think twice about going to the doctor to have it set by somebody that knows what they're doing. We can't all be great at a million different things. So hire experts when you need them to help you see things you can't otherwise see and help you navigate, because these are complex waters right now. I mean, it's no reason to waste any time on it. Hire the right help so that you can get some of these answers and move forward with the things that you're great at so that you can continue pushing the business forward.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I think this is a problem for a lot of leaders when they are used to being that startup mode and they're doing a lot of the work. Well, to be able to grow further, to be able to deliver more and higher quality and better service to your customers, you really need to delegate. You need to make sure that you're trusting in the experts and bringing the right people in so you can move the business forward. Totally agree. And so, Rhiannon, as our leaders are listening in today, want to learn more about you and in your organization, what is the best place for them to contact you?
Yeah. I am on LinkedIn, and then My Trusted HR. I've got some resources, YouTube videos, information about my business. And we can set up a free consultation and get to meet one another.
Excellent. Well, to all those listening in out there, first I want to express my gratitude for Rhiannon joining in and sharing her expertise on the forum today. And for all of you out there, we'll see you next week on the People Strategy Forum. Right? Take care, everyone.